Hey everybody, what's up? This is Jason Ostrowski, and this is the Everything Real Estate Podcast. This week I sat down with Kim Johnson from Kim Johnson Consulting, and we talked about mindset and emotion. You know, what we're feeling nowadays is highly emotionally charged. We have a pandemic. We have a lot of things going on within the country right now. Our clients are emotional. We're back out in the field. We're doing our business. And sometimes we don't have complete control over how we're feeling. So we're going to work on some tips and strategies with Kim Johnson. And who better to talk to than someone who has written 8 self-help books, including 2 bestsellers, and spent 18 years working with and studying under the famous self-help guru, Tony Robbins. So we're going to pick up a couple minutes into my conversation with Kim. There'll be some valuable takeaways. I hope that you'll get a lot out of it. So please listen. Kim is very engaging. I think you'll like her, and we'll talk on the other side. Here's our interview with Kim. Mindset can be a tricky thing, right? And I am totally on your page. And one thing that I truly believe in is the mindset of how you do things in your life. And sometimes, you know, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So, you know, from a coaching standpoint, you know, how do you coach your clients and your potential people that you work with on the emotion and the mindset of things? How do we break those neural pathways of negativity and get into a positive mindset?
Boy, isn't that the trick question of the day? So, you know, what's interesting about that is I just had a client this morning who said to me, I went to my therapist. We had a very long conversation about my problem. I left. I felt no better. I focused on the problem for a whole hour, and she couldn't give me anything to move forward. And oftentimes that happens. And this is really the difference between therapy and coaching. We want to understand the problem, but we don't want to keep talking about the problem. We want to move forward, right? Because the problem is there, present, and in the past. And we want to move forward. So in coaching, it's all about understanding where you are. So the first step in change is for someone to actually hone in and say, wait, what am I actually experiencing here? What is my model of the world right now? What am I seeing? What am I taking in? And we do that through emotions. Emotions are, for me, this is like I get so excited when we talk about this stuff because emotions to me are like the colors of the rainbow. Mm-hmm. And when I wrote the last book, it really, I talk about how I have a double-decker bus filled with emotions. And my whole experience is predicated on who's driving, and that emotion is in control of everything. So if you don't know the emotions you're experiencing regularly, if you're not paying attention, but in general, you're just like, I'm aggravated, and you wake up and you're aggravated, then you'll stay aggravated all day. And your whole experience will be that of aggravation. Mm-hmm. And you can't pull yourself back from it unless you're aware of it. So the most important thing that we can do immediately is to just stop and take note of where we are. Observe what is going on. What is the emotion I'm currently residing in? What is the one I keep flipping back to? Who's really in charge of me? Because our emotions rule us in everything. I don't care if it's in buying laundry detergent or a car or, you know, what show we're going to watch. Mm-hmm. Our emotions are always in charge, always. And if you don't rule them, they will rule you. And they are like an unruly group of toddlers, and they will take over. And it doesn't matter. People will always say, well, positive or negative emotions. And I'm like, nope, they all have a light and a dark side. Love is an amazing thing to experience, but we can become quickly stupid when we're in love and make bad choices, right? As much as we can make wonderful choices. It depends on where we are with it and monitoring it and taking it all in. Fear is an excellent emotion when we need to move fast to save ourselves. I want fear in my life if my house is on fire, right? To get me out quickly. But I don't want fear driving me every day.
Sure.
That's not going to be a useful emotion. That's going to cause me to believe things that aren't true. So it's all about entering into a scope of awareness and actually starting from that standpoint and taking inventory of your emotions and figuring out, what am I spending most of my time in? what's the language of that emotion? Am I saying things to myself that are unresourceful? Am I speaking in a way to myself that I would never speak to another human being, which we do regularly? We beat the crap out of ourselves in our head, but we would never speak to another human being that way.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
And that dictates our experience.
And I know for me, I'm very much a type A personality, though I try not to be, right? And I'm constantly, I guess, introspective and aware of my shortcomings and what I need to work on. And it's a work in progress, and it always is, but I'm trying to be better in that capacity, to not beat myself up,
Mm-hmm.
You say in your book, stop, reflect, choose, and redirect. Is it that simple to change your mindset in the middle of something like COVID, right? We're out there potentially in the field now showing houses. We're back in business. It's a very emotionally charged time in terms of what's going on in the country right now, not only with COVID, but, we see what's happening in the cities right now. There's a lot of emotion involved in day to day, and we carry around maybe that baggage right now. So is it as simple as something where we can stop, reflect, choose, and redirect how we feel?
Yes, and just because it's simple, it does not mean it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a simple procedure, but it's not an easy task to have to do. When I tell people, when we first enter into this, and I say, well, you're going to have to do it 100 times a day, if not more. And they go, are you kidding? No, I'm not kidding. But if you want the results and you're committed to the outcome, you can do it. And just think about how many times in your life have you been in the middle of, let's say, an argument with your partner, your spouse, or somebody, and you're really battling it out, and the phone rings, and you're blah, 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 and you grab the phone and you go, hello. Instantly you change.
Mm-hmm.
And you go right to a different personality. And then it's a client, and you're like, okay, blah, 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 and you're like all up, laughing, doing everything you need to do, making the appointment with the client. You hang up the phone, you take a breath, and you go, all right, where were we? Oh, that's right, I was mad at you. And you go right back to it.
Mm-hmm.
In a heartbeat, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's a demonstration of how quickly you can change, and you can turn it on and off when you need to.
Mm-hmm.
It's the beautiful thing about being a human being, and it's the horrible thing about being a human being, because you can switch them on and off, on and off, on and off. And you can feel multiple emotions at a time. And in the book, the way I explain it is, when you tell yourself to stop, your brain has an association to that word of freeze. Just stop. If someone yells stop and you're out in public, everyone will freeze. Mm-hmm. One way or another, you'll see people like, what? And they start to look around. So your brain has an association to that word. The next thing, as you're taking it all in, it's that reflection of, where am I right now? What was I just thinking? Well, I was thinking that I had anxiety going out because I had to put the mask on. Okay. Is that resourceful right now? Right? No, it's not. So I'm reflecting that. Okay. What would be a more resourceful emotion that I should choose to be in? Right? I could be optimistic. I could be driven. I could be thoughtful. I'm going to wear it when I need to. I'm going to check with my clients. You give yourself a little talking to about what emotion you want to choose. Then you go into that redirect phase of okay, this is how I'm going to do it. And before you get there, you talk to yourself. You say, this is the emotion I need to be in right now. And what's really significantly hard right now, more than anything, Jason, is that most people have a high need for certainty. And it drives all of our thoughts, our actions. It is regularly in the top 5 drivers of the bus for most people. And right now, there's very little certainty.
Yeah.
So the places that we used to get it, it's not there. Having a great business, saying, oh, I'm going to have to work. Some people get a lot of certainty from working 80 hours a week, even though they say they hate it. When it goes down to 60, they go, oh, something's wrong, right? They panic all of a sudden.
That is totally me, by the way. Totally me.
Right. That's a certainty-driven trait. And that means, and people will say, well, isn't that control? No, the underlying emotion is certainty. Yes, certainty wants to control things, but it's to make ourselves feel safe in a world that's very unsafe. It's why, I'm obsessive about folding towels a certain way. My husband's like, can I help you? No, I don't want your help. I like the towels folded the way I like them. right?
Mm-hmm.
I like everything done the way I like it. So is that a control freak? Outwardly, if you don't understand emotion, you could say that, but really what it is just certainty.
That makes total sense. And you say when emotions go up, intelligence goes down. And I really, really just love that phrase because it's totally true. I mean, we see it all the time in our business when we have clients that can be the emotion and the sentimentality of a sale of their home gets into it. They often make poor decisions because it's emotionally driven. And, we can be victims. Anybody obviously can be a victim of that, and we see it right now in our lives. I feel like we see it out there in the streets that, emotions go up. I know the first time that I showed a property coming out of this, I was really happy to be back in business. And then you get to the property and you're like, oh my God, am I safe? Am I doing enough? I'm touching doorknobs. I'm touching light switches. Emotion kind of takes over, and I guess the intelligence, like you say, goes down. So how do we, what are some tips and tricks? I know we talk about who's driving the bus, right? What am I feeling at that time? Again, am I stopping and redirecting at that point? Or do I kind of, just like you said, just reassess the moment and just think about it logically and slow things down in my mind? Is that a good process to move forward with?
Running the pattern of that stop strategy is always it is the way that I have really perfected for myself and for my clients to follow. And because it works, because you're constantly pulling back. Like I said, it's simple. It's just not easy because you have to do it repeatedly. So you can also up level that by choosing the emotion before you even go out. So setting the tone for the day before you even get out of bed in the morning. This starts. The joke is my clients who will be listening to this will be laughing because it's always set the tone for the next day when you go to bed. If you're dropping yourself into bed and you're just like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I hope I sleep through the whole night. I hope I don't have to wake up. Please let the baby sleep. Don't let the dog wake me up. I can't. Like if you're doing that dialogue in your head, you're going to sleep in desperation and anxiety. So how could that possibly set the tone for a healthy next day? It doesn't. If you're watching the news at night before you go to bed, oh my God, don't.
Yeah.
Listen, nothing in your world is going to change from the time you go to bed till you go to sleep and wake up in the next morning that's going to help you other than you taking care of your biochemistry and sleeping well. We know so much about how sleep affects the human body, healing, weight, the psychology of it. It all takes place while you sleep and your subconscious mind does the work. So I have a very vivid imagination. I am like uber creative and I paint and I write and I draw and I do all these crazy things. If I watch anything scary before I go to bed, I have a horrible night's sleep. And I'm talking like simple things, like even, the simplest of things, if I watch them, I have a horrible night's sleep because my imagination will work all night and ruminate on these things. If I read a post, I have no social media after 7:00. It's done. Don't turn it on. Don't look at it. I don't check email. 7:00, the phone goes away. Unless I finish whenever my last session is, the phone goes away. Because if I don't do that, I am susceptible to taking in things I don't want. So to be successful, it always starts the night before in an ideal world. So if you want to, let's say, change your pattern, you want to get up in the morning, you say, I want to be that person that works out. Great. Set yourself up to win. Write yourself a note when you're feeling inspired. I'm so proud of us that we got up this morning. Put your sneakers and your workout gear with that note right on your nightstand so you see them and they're looking at you. And you read that note in your own handwriting that you wrote to yourself when you were in a better state of mind than at 5 a.m. when you didn't want to get your butt out of bed. Set yourself up to win.
And that's a great point because I will tell you, and again, this is delving into the personal, but when my wife falls asleep, she's out within 30 seconds. Like, I don't know how she does it, because I am the complete opposite. I will toss and turn for hours. I get frustrated, and then I look over and she's like sleeping like a baby. For me, just for an example, the other night I have a property go under contract, which is great. I should be happy about that. But then I immediately turn my focus to what needs to be done next in that process, right? And so I'm tossing and turning in my mind as I'm trying to fall asleep what I need to do, the following week, because it's going to be a stressful week. There's a lot going on. And I find myself, before I even know it, it's after 1 a.m. and I still haven't fallen asleep, knowing that I have to get up early the next day. And I think a lot of agents,
which makes it even worse.
Yeah, which a lot of agents feel the same way that I do, and I think that there's a lot of people that can relate out there to that. What tips and tricks, besides what we talked about, what would you say to me if I just, I told you what I told you? If you were coaching me, what would you say to me about that?
The very first thing I would tell you is that we need a new strategy for when your night closes. First of all, you need a time that is, I'm done. Okay? Because you have to have boundaries. If you don't have boundaries, then you're basically saying, I welcome the chaos. Right? Energetically, you're just saying, I welcome all the chaos. And you're never giving yourself time to recuperate, never giving yourself time to heal. So it's very much like the mask in the plane. When the mask falls, they don't say to you, put it on your neighbors, help everyone else, and then take care of yourself. They say, take care of yourself, then help your neighbors. That's the way you do this. So I have no problem just saying, I'm done. My clients know that. I've been doing this for 20 years. My clients all know. I say to them, you can text me anytime you want. I will answer you as soon as I can. If I cannot get back to you right then because I've shut my phone off, it will definitely be the next day. But trust, I will get back to you. And they're all, okay. And I've never had someone complain to me about it. Not once. You can set the boundaries. The thing is that I would tell you very handedly the night before, because of how your brain is working, you need to get it all out. So you probably keep a lot inside and process a lot internally. Lots of plates spinning. Stop it and get a piece of paper and just basically brain dump every night at a certain time. So it's 7:00. Like, I never leave my office without brain dumping for the next day. And the next week always takes place on Friday. So I planned all of this week on Friday before I left for the day. So when today started, I didn't have stress coming in. Now, it's a little different for my agents because they have that constant plate spinning stuff. But that's why it's so important to not keep things in your head. The other thing is, a lot of you love to use electronic ways to track stuff, which I have no problem with in theory, and I use them myself. But there's nothing better for a human being than pen and paper. So if you have to have a book where you can brain dump every single night and it's all written down, then you can go back to it and just check it off. You can just check it off when it's done. The other thing that you guys are so extraordinarily good at is not tracking your wins, because you are forever on to the next thing, right? There are so many steps in it. So you never celebrate any wins. So you never actually have one, because even by the time you get to closing, you're like, all right, 1 down, 70 more to go, right? Like you're just always somewhere else. And that's future pacing. Like in neurolinguistic programming, we refer to that as future pacing. So you're always out in the future. You're never in the present moment. But all we really have is the present moment, right? We don't have the past. It's already gone. The future is what can come, but the present moment is what we have. So if we don't celebrate in the present moment, it doesn't allow us to grow and expand and say thank you for what we're having in those little wins. So, my theory for myself is, if I don't say thank you for all the things that have come to me, whatever your beliefs are, whether you're religious or spiritual or whatnot, but if I'm not saying thank you and celebrating them, why would I expect any more to come my way?
Yeah.
That you wouldn't do that for a child. If your child didn't say thank you to you for the ice cream or the cookie or the bicycle, you'd be like, let's see how much you get next time. So you learn. I say to my son, when he doesn't say thank you, please and thank you, I just stand there. And he goes, what? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't speak that language. And then he'll go, oh, I'm sorry, thank you. And then he snaps right out of it.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of what you're saying, I mean, I totally relate with, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that relate to you that, sometimes it is hard to stop, especially we're in the spring market right now. Not only are we in the spring market, but we're also coming out of hibernation where everybody kind of wants to jump in the pool at the same time, right? Buyers, sellers, we're being flooded with clients, we're being overwhelmed with business, hopefully. And it is difficult to kind of, just poke your head up every once in a while and acknowledge the good things that are going on. Some people aren't happy unless they're unhappy. And I certainly don't want to fall into that mindset, where, like you mentioned earlier, that I'm complaining how busy I am. But then when it does stop being busy, I complain because I'm not busy,
That's right.
I don't want to be one of those people. I'm grateful for everything that I have in my business. I think sometimes it just can be overwhelming at times when you need to be 3 people and you're only one,
But in those moments, in those particular moments, when you feel like you need to be 3 people instead of 1, that's because you have not set yourself up for success. You've not projected to the people that are calling in. Like, I have clients, I coach 75 people. Everyone's always having a problem, right? Like, people are texting, calling, there's always issues. I'm never feeling overwhelmed by it. I tell them, here's when I can take care of this for you. Here's when I'm on it. And when I'm really honest about how much time things take me, that's where a lot of my agents screw themselves up because they underestimate the amount of time things will take them.
Yes.
And they know, here's the tricky part, in the back of their head, there is that certainty person on the bus. They might not be driving in that second, but that certainty person goes, you're full of crap. That's going to take you an hour and a half. Right? No, I can get it done in 10 minutes. Optimism. Not the best resource to be driving in that moment. But we do it.
And that's me. I find myself doing that. That is totally true. Totally true.
Right. So a way around that is to create, like, I am the person who doesn't turn off well. Historically, I do now because I've taught myself this skill. So I have, as I said in the book, I have one of my girls, this hippie chick Zen girl. She's totally fine. She doesn't care if there are dishes in the sink. She doesn't care if the dishwasher's been loaded improperly. She doesn't care about lots of things. She can just kick back and relax. So I've taught myself through this persona I created for her, like, how would she respond? So I asked myself, if she was driving right now, if I put her in the seat, how would she respond? And she would be like, it's all good. It's okay. Nothing to stress out about. And then I stop and I pause. So yesterday I had we're building a house and my son was out there, live construction site, and he walked into a piece of wood that had a nail in it, cut his chest. And it was, pretty gnarly looking. And he's screaming, this is a serious injury. He's like 11. He's very big with words and he loves to use like vocabulary that most 11-year-olds don't. And he's like using all this. And I go over and he's like, do you have a perforated lung? And I was like, oh my God, no, you're fine. But in that moment, I had to, because there was the part of me that wanted to panic. Right. And then I just, no, stop, not panic. What does he need right now? He needs you to be super zen. And I just knelt down on my knees and I put my hand on his chest and I said, you're not bleeding. I can't see into you. It's just a deep cut. We're going to go to the center. You're going to be fine. I need you to take a deep breath. And while I find Dad, my husband runs up, everything's fine. But in that moment, I had the option to add to the drama or not. I had the option to pull back. But because I've so conditioned myself now I know. So the trick is always playing to that card of, where am I? Where is my emotion right now? Like, before you walk into that meeting and you're trying to get that listing, are you going in with desperation driving the bus? Or are you going in with excitement and presence driving the bus? Like, I can't wait to meet these people. I'm so excited to meet you. Tell me all about your house so I can figure out if I'm the right person to help you with this.
Yep.
That's not desperation. That's showing up in the right mindset.
Yeah.
And then those people feel that.
Yeah. And, and that's actually a good last question that I wanted to lead into, because, when we do go out to properties, we want to convey that happiness or optimism or confidence, whatever it is that you want to portray in front of your clients. On the flip side of that, how can we, what are some tips or controls that we can put out there to not let the emotion of our clients maybe get in the way of a transaction? Are there tips that we can use with our clients to maybe calm them down a little bit by showing maybe that we're calm on the other side? Or what would be your best advice when we're dealing with emotionally charged clients?
Oh, see, it's perfect, because the great rule of leadership is you can't lead if you can't lead yourself. And as agents, you are supposed to be leaders. People are coming to you because you are experts. So you have to step into that role. You must step into the leadership role and know that anyone can be led. You just have to understand where they are. But how can you understand where their emotions are if you don't know where yours are? I can go into a call with a client and I can tell you in 5 seconds where this person is, because I am so on it for myself that I can assess where that is. Now, that doesn't mean just because I'm aware of myself that I can always manage it. I can in coaching because that's my role, right? But my personal life is a different story. I'm not always on it there. That's why I have a coach. And also for my business, because sometimes I'm always working in my business and I'm not working on my business. So I have to do those things too. But as an agent going in, your job is to figure out what emotion are these people in right away. So you know if you've got a husband and a wife and they're not on the same page and they both, I want a pool, that's a priority. Well, I don't want a pool, I want chickens, whatever it might be, right? You've got to know, because they're bringing this problem to you and you are about to become a therapist. Because you've got to try to figure out how to bridge this gap. Yep. You've got to figure out how to ask them, but you can't do it if you don't know where they are. And you can't do that if you're not aware enough to ask those questions. And you're going in desperation and you're saying to yourself behind the scenes, just want them to sign the paper. Just hope I get the signature today. You think they're going to sign the paper today? Hope they're going to sign the paper today. Got to remember to ask them to sign the paper today. Because that's what happened.
Yeah, it
and
definitely
then you get nowhere.
does. Yeah. And we come across that. I mean, all the time. Part of our job is, unfortunately, we always joke as realtors that we wear a lot of hats. And one of those hats is to be a therapist, but like you said, if we can't check our own emotions and have that emotional intelligence when we speak to our clients about our, for ourselves first, it's really hard to do that with our clients. So,
completely. And that's the trick. If there's one thing that we're going to leave on, it's that do the work for yourself first. And remember, this is not a destination. This is an ongoing process. I've been doing this for years and I still have to do it all the time, every day. I just am, the difference between where you might be and where I am is I catch myself in 2 minutes where it might take you 2 days, but it's still, I have to still do it. Because we are emotional creatures, and that's our way we are set up to succeed and fail and take in the world is through emotions. And if there's nothing else that you hear us say today, that's the most important thing.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to end on that note. I know that we went maybe a little bit long, but I want to keep you to your time frame. So, Kim, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you, and it certainly sounds like I need to be calling you in the future. Let's put it that way.
I'm so grateful for the invitation today, and I'm happy to help. And I'm always love taking questions.
You've given us all a lot of food for thought out there. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, that was our interview with Kim. I hope you enjoyed that. And just a couple key takeaways that I got from that interview and talking to Kim and her expertise. Doing these podcasts, we have 5 of them out now, and I've talked to several people who really tap into the mindset of how the human experience goes. You find that there's certain patterns that take place. So in Kim's estimation, we get to pick and choose our emotion when we're out there. And sometimes it's really just a matter of stopping in the moment. If you find yourself being aware of how you feel in the present, in that moment, and then reflecting on that for a second and choosing how you move forward. We get to choose our emotion. We don't have to let the emotion, basically choose us. And that is the difference between someone keeping your cool out in the field and maybe, getting into an argument with somebody, whether it be a client, whether it be another agent. We can pick and choose who we want to be in that moment and our emotion that we have in that moment. So Kim's, phrase of stop, reflect, choose, and redirect is something that moving forward I'm going to use, and just making sure that I'm in the right mindset moving forward and dealing with other people and making sure that I have my emotions in check. The other thing she talks about is set yourself up to win. And setting yourself up to win means, getting into the habit of controlling your time, controlling your day, and controlling your life. So for me, I need to go to bed earlier. I know that going into this, I need to shut off my phone maybe, at 9 o'clock rather than answering emails at 10:30 at night. It seems obvious, but it's hard and it takes work to get to where you want to go. And don't forget, when it comes to mindset, affirmations really do help. You want to be thankful for what you have. You want to be grateful in life. And sometimes, that's tough to do, especially when you have a lot of frustration out there. You're dealing with a lot of problems, and sometimes they seem never ending. But remember that we always have good stuff around us, and we need to be thankful for what we have. And then also set the tone for the day. And that really piggybacks off of what I just said was, when you get up, take a couple minutes, don't immediately look at your phone. Kind of relax and go over your day in your mind and set and choose that tone for the day consciously. Choose to be positive today, or try and look at things with a curious mind. And I think that will help you carry through the day. So anyway, with that said, that's what I got from that interview. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back in a couple weeks with a new episode, a new guest. But until then, take care of yourself out there, and we'll talk to you next time on the Everything Real Estate Podcast.